whether parents were there or they were not there, it has huge impact on a child, even as they grow into adulthood. When the person as a young adult or as an adult begins to exhibit some attachment disorders, okay, so we know that, okay, there was some daddy issues here. Trust issues is also one major one. When people say to me, I don't trust easily, I'm like, okay, tell me about your bringing. You may not even realize some of those things are there, but you might just think, I don't know why people just leave me. After a while, the why is embedded in your childhood experience. It's not every form of emotional injury that goes on to become an emotional wound. Some of these emotional wounds will be fear of abandonment, and which could make them hold on to relationships or things that they don't have to hold on to. Forgiveness is actually one of the steps, is actually one of the processes to healing. However, forgiveness is not the first step.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TTS podcast series. And on today, we are doing episode 10. And on this episode, we have a very, very experienced guest. And like we always do, we bring in different guests to the program. Today, we have no other person but Dr. Timi Oyebode, if I'm pronouncing it properly. And she is a trauma, abuse, addiction, recovery therapist. Okay, so please welcome with me, Dr. Timi Oyebode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you much more for having me. It's a great pleasure to be house this time. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here and to share from the little I know, I guess, and possibly also learn.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So today we're discussing something very unique because these things have been happening for a long time, but I think it's time for we to start addressing them. And what we're discussing today is what we call healing from the impact of absent and emotional unavailable parents. It looks long, but the thing is, we just want to cover all of the necessary things that we need to cover. Okay. So first, the first thing I would like to ask you is, yes, in the time past, we've had a lot of kids, suffer from the daddy-ish, mommy's boy, kind of statement. And then we've had other kids as well, other children say, oh, when I was growing up, I didn't get that love, I didn't get that care and stuff like that. So without being judgmental, can you explain what daddy, when you say daddy issues, mommy's issues, mommy's boy, oh, I didn't get the love, what does this mean? In your concept or in your words.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Once again, I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone watching us, and it's a honor, like I said earlier, to be able to share with us. Amazingly, that word, daddy issue, mom issue, it's no longer just a slang. I want to believe maybe it started as a slang or something, but somehow it's been taken into the space of psychotherapy and emotional wellness as well. So we refer to that once we hear, okay, mommy issue, daddy issues, then automatically we're talking about a kind of emotional challenges that stemmed or that came out of, let me put it this way, a pattern of abandonment or a pattern of unavailable parenting. Okay, so once we have that, we're saying, okay, this person actually have issues associated with parents not being available or not being there. And then when we talk about even the mommy's boy, daddy's boy, all of that syndrome actually is still in effect about parenting styles or parenting experiences that individuals had while growing up. And truth be told, there's a lot of impact and effect that this would have. Whether parents were there or they were not there, it has huge impact on a child, even as they grow into adulthood. Of course, some of these impacts or effects, like you would say, is majorly, the first major one is attachment. That's the major way we know when someone had a good childhood experience. when the person as a young adult or as an adult begins to exhibit some attachment disorders. Okay, so we know that, okay, there was some daddy issues here or mommy issues here, and some of this attachment disorder could even play out in fact, in things like anxiety, a lot of being anxious, a lot of being or avoidant tendencies, or a lot of fearfulness, a lot of patterns like that shows some disorder in the kind of relationship the individual is building now. That those could let us know that, oh, there was some daddy issue here or mommy issue. Of course, trust issues is also one major one. When people say to me, I don't trust easily, I'm like, okay, tell me about your bringing. And I know it has nothing to do with my upbringing. I'm like, okay, tell me about your dad then. And they're like, no, not my dad. Okay, tell me about your mom. Because the truth is, we learn trust as a child, all right? If you're having trust issues as a young adult, as a young person, even into relationship, we definitely are coming up with all of this because of what you had to go through as a child. Okay, so all things being equal, the impact or the effect of daddy issue or mommy issues is actually very, very phenomenal, and it's often very dominant in the lives of the individuals that had to experience it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for that. At least I'm getting to know something. So when I hear people say, I don't trust, I would ask the same question if I'm allowed to anyways. Okay, so the other question would be, can you tell us some of the wounds, if I'm allowed to use that word, and some of the consequences, that people suffer from daddy issues? Yes, you've mentioned trust and you've mentioned some other things, but let's just look at it from a child or a young teenager who had it rough with his or her parents. What are the likely emotional consequences or wounds that they suffer?
When we talk about emotional wounds, we are referring to what we call trauma. Now, trauma usually trauma is just a Greek word to mean emotional wounds, and it simply just emphasize on the fact that there's been an injury. Once there's been an injury, something has happened, and the ripple effect of that is manifesting or playing out in an individual's life. So, oh yeah, there are some emotional wounds here. And another amazing reality is this: it's not every form of emotional injury that goes on to become an emotional wound. All right. So we could get injured in various ways. It necessarily does not mean we're going to have a long-lasting wound. However, that being said, emotional wounds that are very peculiar or very obvious to people who had struggles with available parenting. That's what we call, when we talk about daddy issue, mommy issue, we're talking about available parenting. All right. If they grew up without that, there are some key emotional wounds. It's going to have ripple effects. It's going to affect their emotions. It's going to have concerns into how they connect with other people. Some of these emotional wounds will be fear of abandonment, and which could make them hold on to relationships or things that they don't have to hold on to. An abusive relationship, but because of the fear of, no, I don't want them to leave me. I don't want to be alone. Someone who grew up with, oh, they are never there for me. Dad is not going to come. Mom's not going to come. And then now they have somebody in their life who is there. So what do you find out? This person is there. So they are consistently afraid of being left alone. The fear of abandonment. Another key thing also is huge sense of perfectionism. This is quite funny because many times when I've had to work with clients that had childhood struggles, and we begin to talk about their sense of perfectionism as an adult in their present homes, in their marriages, in their lives, in their relationships, it's always amazing because they're thinking, I just want this to be done the right way. And then I say to them, is it the right way, or the way your parents made you felt was the right way? Or was it the way you felt, if you do it this way, you're going to get daddy's attention? If you do it this way, you're going to get mommy's attention. That's why you're doing it, not because that's the right or wrong way. You see the dynamics, right or wrong way. So there is always that sense of, oh, I need to do things perfectly well. And they put that pressure even on themselves or other people around them. There's also a huge people-pleasing tendency, a very huge one. Once you see someone who is bent on, okay, I just want to be on the best behavior, even when they are unhappy or something is happening to them that is not good for them, they still do not say no. In fact, they don't know how to say no. In many cases, when you have someone who struggles to say no, those are signs, those are wounds, those are signs of these wounds we're talking about. They suppress a lot of emotions. So they are pain, they are hurt about things, but they don't know how to put it out there. In their mind, if you ask them, a lot is going on. Oh yeah, I'm angry, I'm upset, but they can't even tell the person they're angry with that I'm angry with you. It's as bad as that. So these things are deep, and that's why it takes us even into the space of talking about depression, talking about a lot of emotional or self-abuse, okay? Because those are things that comes as wounds that are very obvious when we're dealing with this kind of people.
All right, thank you so much for sharing. If you notice that I was just nodding my head, like, yeah, I could actually relate some sort of, okay, so, but it's not really about me. So let's move on. Okay, so I want to ask, because sometimes it's difficult to recognize that you have daddy issues and you're suffering from the consequences of essential parent. So what are the signs? What are those things that you should look out for? Or what are those things that would tell you, or people can see and say, yes, you're having, issues, you have some emotional injuries and stuff like that. So can you help us identify some of these signs?
Okay. As much as I usually do not encourage self-diagnosis, okay, and I tell people if you're suspecting anything, the ideal is for you to go in for an assessment. All right. Mental health assessment, it's normal. It's for every one of us, okay? And because beyond everything, it's also been aware that man is made up of body, spirit, and soul. We have three compartments. If we have the medical doctors to take care of our physical health, we have our spiritual leaders, pastors, imam, or whichever one, to take care of our spiritual health. Then the soul. The soul is the space of the mind. And the mind is this very tangible part of us that even determines what happens with the spirit, what happens with the body. And that is why when we're talking about identifying what's wrong, knowing what you are all about, it's important that many times you don't self-diagnose, you get a professional to sit down with you, run assessments with you, and give you your feedback. Same as even going online, because I've had a lot of time where people say, oh yeah, I went to Google said I have depression. I'm like, no. Google can't tell you you have depression, okay? Even if all the symptoms are looking like it, we don't self-diagnose. That being said, now, how do you know as an individual that, okay, maybe I had a turbulent childhood, but I think I've gone past it. I think I'm okay now. I'm grown up, I'm an adult, but how do I know if this is still affecting me? How do I know if there is still something to go deal with? Good. If that's what you want to know, there are some basic things I tell you to look out for. One, look out for your emotional patterns. How much of your emotions do you understand? Do you have what we call emotional intelligence? Do you find out that, when it comes to emotions, you really do not have so much control? Do you realize that, okay, I think I get triggered easily? Are you this kind of person that says, I don't know why, but I just cry unnecessarily, as in I just cry a lot. I don't know why, but any small thing I cry. Or are you the one who would say, any small thing I just start yelling, I just start shouting, like, I get angry a lot. What are these emotions that you can identify? If you can identify these emotions and put them in perspective, then would be able to say, okay, first of all, you are aware of the extent of the calmness that you can control. That's one. So emotional pattern, being aware of your emotional pattern and being aware of the feedbacks you've gotten about your emotional pattern. Are you told because sometimes you may not be able to know, okay, but feedback from people will give you an idea of, okay, maybe you need to work on this area, maybe you need to work on that area. Okay, that's one. Another way to know, okay, about to identify for yourself if you are struggling is also what we call internal self-talk. What kind of internal self-talk do you have? Do you realize that you are very negative in your thought patterns? That could be a sign to tell you to go in to therapy. Do you realize that, oh, even when people praises you, you find it difficult to accept praises? Do you realize that even on your own terms, even when you've done something good, you find it difficult to be able to say, oh yeah, I think I did a good job. You're quick to criticize yourself. You're quick to always say, no, it's not me they're calling. It's not me. They don't need me there. Okay. If you want that, yes, some people will tell you, no, I'm a backbencher. I'm okay working behind the scenes. That's fine. However, the question you should ask yourself is, why are you okay working behind the scene? Is it because you are afraid to step to the front of the screen? Because that could be a sign. That could be telling you a lot about your childhood. Another key thing is your relationship pattern. What pattern of relationships have you been having? Do you realize that at some point you have friends and then friends abandon you? Do you often feel like people connect together and then they let me make it a bit personal. I remember growing up, my teenage into young adult, I always have this sense of, oh, if I make a friend today and I make another friend tomorrow, my two friends, the moment they connect or I connect them together, they become best of friends, and then I'm left out of the equation. Okay, now that feeling, if you are having that kind of feeling, that's a sign something happened in your childhood. You and that's why I said many times we may not even realize some of those things are there, but you might just think, I don't know why people just leave me. After a while, the why is embedded in your childhood experience. Is embedded in that childhood trauma you experienced that hasn't been dealt with. Okay, so check out those relationship patterns. Check out if you are in a toxic relationship, for example, maybe a romantic relationship or a relationship with the opposite sex, and you find out that you are always the one giving. When I say giving, not just even material things, giving of time, giving of emotions, giving of encouragement, giving of everything, and you're really receiving. If that is also your pattern, that is a sign to tell you something is wrong. Okay, if you realize that, okay, people are always taking from you, but never really giving to you, or that's you see, the amazing part of this also is that it could just even be your feeling. It could be because when you come into therapy and we sit down together, I mean, and we're able to analyze it, I probably could show you a lot of time people are giving to you. But in your mind, no, people don't give to me. No, people are not nice to me. No, people take from me. If that's how you feel, then that's a sign that you might need to get into therapy. Another key thing to look out for, for yourself, is avoidance mechanism. If you notice that you have this particular attitude to some things, you will rather avoid. There are various ways we deal with issues. Okay, there are the confrontational ways, there is the avoidance ways, there is the management way.
I was actually that was going to be my next question. I wanted to ask you, what are the, steps how individuals can help heal from these, from these challenges and from these consequences. So it's good you're talking about it. You can just roll it in. Thank you.
Because basically, just as I was saying, that if you realize that you would rather avoid some things, you would rather avoid some places, avoid some people, avoid doing some things that naturally should have been okay for you to do. Those could be part of the signs that something is wrong. And of course, I wouldn't want to omit this, somatic expressions also. Your physical body. Your physical body could tell you a lot about what's going on in your mind. So if you have consistent physical reactions, all right, it could be chronic headaches. Okay, it could be chronic pain in a particular part of your body. You've gone medical, you've even seen doctors, and they told you there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, those that in fact that is just we have terminologies for it, but I don't want to. I'm trying to make sure I'm using layman's language. So if you notice, I'm using a lot of because some words comes to my head and I'm trying to break it down. Say no, say it in a way that the least person, even a small child listening to me now, can understand. Okay, because our body actually tells us a lot about what's going on in your emotions. So if you realize that you're having some consistent pain, right, that medically has not been subsiding despite whatever treatment, that could be a major sign to tell you something is wrong. Now, if you want to begin to look at, okay, what then do I do? I told us earlier, you need to first of all go in for a proper diagnosis. All right. When I use diagnosis, I do not mean because when we tell people to do this, sometimes a lot of people thinking, hey, they want me to go in for psychoanalysis. Hey, somebody wants to examine my mind. Then no, okay. We have different categories of people who could help you with some of this analysis. As basic as just checking out your emotional wellness, as basic as just checking out the same way, I told you earlier, if medical doctors could take care of our physical body and we're going for physical checkups, why don't we go in for mental checkups? All right, going for periodic mental checkups. It could just be once a year. Sign up with a therapist, going, just tell them you want to do a mental assessment. They will give you, because there are assessment parameters that are being used. This will be given to you once it is established that, you could even be a bit more specific. Many of my clients, maybe because they know I work in the space of trauma, they call me specifically saying, I want to know my trauma level. I want to know where I am. Okay. And there are assessments with these that could help you to be able to identify, first of all, that, okay, yeah, this is where you had this happened to you, this happened to you, and this is the impact of what happened to you. Now, remember also I said something earlier. The fact that you experienced the emotional injury does not mean you would have wounds. That is, does not mean you would have traumas. The fact that some traumatic things happened does not mean it will result in lasting traumas that you carry into adulthood. And that's why you would see that somebody could have the same sense of abandonment or parental neglect, and they will still do well. They won't have some of these signs and symptoms we're talking about. It could be because there was something else at that time that was quick to mitigate the impact of that pain they had experienced. So maybe a grandparent was there that stepped into the gap of the absentee parents, or maybe a teacher in school, or maybe a friend, a best friend. Somebody came in and filled that gap. It could be an uncle, it could be an area father, it could be somebody. And maybe that's why that person could still do so well. And the impact of parental neglect was not so. When I use neglect, it's not just physical neglect alone, even emotional neglect, because we could have parents that are physically present, but they are emotionally absent. Okay. So if you find yourself in these things, get into therapy first. Let somebody do an assessment on you. Another thing is acknowledge. There is no harm in saying, oh, my childhood wasn't nice. My parents showed I didn't have the best of experience. There's no harm in saying that. There's no harm in being truthful to yourself. You don't need to fake it. I had a client once. His own challenge was the fact that he got into a relationship and he would claim another parent for his parent, as in his real biological parent. They exist, they are alive, but he would not refer to them at all. So another man and woman is what he introduced to his babe as his parents. And then along the line, the stories came out that those are not his real parents, and that his real parents are actually somewhere. Majorly, his own struggle was shame. Now, I didn't tell you that also. One of the impact of parental absenteeism, emotional absenteeism, is also shame and guilt. When an individual realizes that you struggle a lot with a sense of shame and guilt, that also is one of it, just like this young one I was just telling us about now. Okay, so if you find yourself in that, again, like I said, seek professional support, acknowledge that you've been wounded, get ready to purge yourself. Okay, Why? If you do not purge yourself, if you do not heal from the pain of that past, you will carry it on to another generation. Most likely, your parents experienced the same thing, and that's why they passed it on to you. Because we only parent to the best of our capacity, right? So whatever they knew, that's how they treated you. That's how you are wired. Even if in your mind, you want to do better. You want to, no, I'm not going to treat my child the way my parents treated me. You'll be shocked that by the time you have your own kids, you're going to repeat the same cycle, except you take deliberate effort to heal. And that's some of this. Focus on emotional regulation. I told you earlier, find what are your emotions, identify the emotions that are very dominant for you. There are really no good or bad emotions. All emotions are good. All, including anger, including jealousy, including envy. All emotions are good. Why? Because emotions are the way our minds communicate to us. So if you're hungry, your mind is telling you something is wrong. Someone just stepped on your toes right now. Someone just did something that insulted you. So it's communicating to you. If you find yourself fearful, your emotions is telling you is a sense of, oh, danger is around you. Get yourself to safety. That's it. So if you can understand that emotions are not negative, they are not wrong, that you feel a certain way does not mean that you were wrong, okay, or that you have a problem. Rather, see the way you feel, being able to sit down on it, hone it, understand it, and then ask questions. Why am I responding this way to these emotions? When someone talks to me in this manner, why do I get angry? Why do I respond back in this way? Now you are being deliberate. You are honing yourself. When you are in that space where you can own yourself, own your emotions, and be accurate with your deliveries, you're already on the path to healing. Another key part of this healing process is self-care. It's self-care. Like you probably would have heard, if you don't take care of you, who will? You felt abandoned as a child. You felt your parents were not emotionally there for you. Now you're an adult. You can take care of you. You can give yourself those emotional lapses that you lacked. Oh, they didn't say I love you to you, right? You can say I love you to you. You can tell yourself, Timi, I love you. Oh, your parent never said well done. Good job. Kudos, right? You could look at yourself and say, oh, Mom, you're fine. Oh, well done. There's no harm in you doing that to yourself. If you do that, you are helping yourself on the path to healing. Now, remember I said sometimes earlier that even though we experience similar injuries, we may have different wounds, or we may have this impact in different ways. Why? Because of our resilience level. The more you do self-care, the more resilience you're going to build. Self-care is not selfishness, okay? Self-care is not because one, like I told us earlier, that one of the attributes or characteristics of people who are struggling with this daddy issue or mommy issue is people pleasing. They would drop their things for the sake of the next person. We have young people in marriages today. They say, okay, so what happened? Why did you marry this lady? My pastor said I should marry her. Oh, I just felt we've been friends for too long. It'd be nice if I don't marry her. You know, what is that? People pleasing.
Okay, so quickly, I want to ask you this. We've all spoken about, or we've heard about forgiving. You know, a lot of time, forgive, forget. You know, and reunite. What's the role of forgiving in healing? And is forgiving really another method or a process to healing?
Forgiveness is actually one of the steps. Is actually one of the processes to healing. However, forgiveness is not the first step. Oftentimes I've had people say, oh, you need to forgive so that you can heal. No, forgiveness is needful because it's one of the steps. It takes you to another level in your healing journey. However, when you come with the place of forgiveness first, a lot of people struggles even to forgive themselves. How much want to forgive their parents? How much want to forgive other people that hurt them? So I'm usually very quick to say, we do forgiveness as you progress. The more informed you become, the more aware you become, the more you understand why you need to forgive. I had my own struggles, even as a child, like I said earlier. I had my own struggles with my mom, thinking, oh, she wasn't told there for me. Oh, when a lot of things happened to me, she wasn't there, right? But when I became an adult and I also progressed into motherhood, I began to understand that what was the best she could do at that time. This was a young woman who had 3 kids all by herself, and there is a limit to what she could do. She was quite young. In fact, when I knew the age and I look at myself at her age at that time, I'm like, oh, ma, that woman even did good. That's what happened. Easily you can then forgive because it comes with maturity. Forgiveness comes with concept, with information. Okay, forgiveness comes with comprehending what had happened, why it happened, and where you were going to. Now, even if you do not have all of that, because this is the key dynamics to all of it, there is a spiritual part of it where a lot of people of faith would say to you, oh, you need to forgive because God forgave you. If you don't forgive, you can't have a relationship with God. These are truths, right? However, we want people to understand the concept of forgiveness and not just forgive because they are told they need to forgive. Because in that way, it's not really going to impact on their healing. Forgiveness is not the erasing of wrong. Forgiveness does not mean the person doesn't get punished for whatever wrong they did. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you now have to accommodate the person and become best of friend with the person. No. Forgiveness simply means you letting go of the burden you've carried, of the pain the other person caused you. So once people get to that space where they can comprehend this very well and understand that forgiveness is for them, it's their own benefit. It's not that you pardon the person and the other person is free now. It's to free you. Then they easily can forgive. And that way, we know it's now impactful because once they do, then their healing is much more assured.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing that. That was actually eye-opening. Thank you. Okay, so let's quickly check. Are there any system, structure, or help, official help right now available to people who suffer these consequences or who need help healing from, parental neglect and all of those stuff? Are there any help available at all?
Oh, yes. We've been talking about help, Saints. I have been saying get into therapy. Therapy is a major form of help. I know sometimes a lot of young people would say things like, oh, therapy is expensive. Oh, I can get into therapy. But the truth is there's a lot of therapy and therapeutic services that are very affordable and free, or even free. You understand me? I run an organization called ADI, Attitude Development International. And we, as much as we have this pool, because we have a very large pool, over 4,000 counselors in these organizations, we have those consistently giving pro bono services. Okay, so therapy is available, it's affordable. Get into it. That's the first primary help I can offer you. Aside from that, there are also resources. There are seminars. If you go online, you hear one program or the other talking about self-esteem. Like we've said, it's you being able to understand that it might not appear like, oh, it's daddy issue or mommy issue, but being able to understand all the symptoms like we've described. You find yourself having trust issues. You find yourself having negative relationship patterns. You find yourself having all this, and then someone is having a seminar or an event and they tagged it relationship circle breakup or something. You should be there. Look at what TTS Pod is doing right now. This is a podcast. You should listen to this. Those are helps. Those are self-help tools that you could take and begin to use to help yourself as resources. Another resources also that are available is group therapy. Okay, group therapy is not you sitting one-on-one with any therapist. It's you and other people who had similar experience coming together to discuss your life, your journey, how you healed, how you can help one another to heal. And if there's no group therapy around you, you could create one. You could call up a group of your friends and say, oh, I'm just wondering how many of us went through daddy issue or mommy issue. You'll be shocked to know that many of us went through it. And so many people will be ready to come together to sit with you and have some of those discussions. Okay. Maybe also practically, I would say get good friendships. Get good friendships. Get a good friend. Of course, believe me, it's tough for people who had this struggle to actually have this good friendship we're talking about. But it's not impossible. So please let them get this good friendship. Let someone come into your life that could be of help and support and take you on this journey of healing. So those are things I would say that you could take as immediate resources, right? Are there NGOs that does these things? Oh yes. Every community has different groups. For many years, I led a group to schools. We go to schools, an NGO, the Real Woman Foundation, in Lagos, Nigeria, and we were going to school, from one school to the other, talking about self-esteem, teaching young girls about, so there are resources available. You just need to look for it and find and fit into the one that is benefiting for you.
The last question before I let you go, because I know it's been a long time, but really it's been very impactful. I'm just looking at all of the things you have said. It's something I would just go sit over and watch again. Okay, so my last question would be, we have new parents, of course, new children, new generations and stuff. What's your advice as an experienced doctor in these areas? What's your advice to parents and how to get more emotionally attached or offering their children the help, emotionally that they need? What's your advice?
Oh, be there, be present. Now, I said it earlier, being physically present is not the same as being emotionally present. Many of the sense of abandonment or sense of childhood neglect, childhood traumas that people experience emotionally is parents who are even there physically, but they are not there emotionally. You don't show up. You don't show up at school programs. You don't show up at event. The child your child is taking an award, no matter how small it is, even if it's just the fact that the child is going up on stage. Why are you not there clapping and rooting for the child? Those are things that, oh, you're busy. I know that one of the challenges of this generation is that we are not having a lot of parents who are so busy, or even because of the Japa syndrome, because of better, greener pasture. So one parent leaves maybe to go to one of the abroad countries, and then one parent is back home. You are stuck with the responsibility of making those kids that you have feel loved. The other person who is not home, he's trying to buy the emotions through sending gifts or sending money, so it's a whole lot. But this is what I would say to you. Don't forget also, because you didn't have it, it might be difficult for you to give it because you didn't have it. So you may not really know what you want to give. And that's why I would say go into parenting classes. Go in. There are lots of parenting classes available now. That's part of the resources we were talking about earlier. Get into a parenting class. Get into parenting seminars. Don't try to do it on head knowledge because you didn't have it. Oh, don't say yes, because I'm now an adult. Now I know what I want. You'll be shocked that your reflex will bring out the whole pattern and you will play it out on your children. You will yell on your children. You will not be there emotionally. So please, if you can, pick on those things, attend parenting seminars, be there emotionally, be there physically. When they have events, sure. If you cannot show up, call ahead, have a conversation with that child. Let that child know why you are not there, okay? And if it so happens that you still don't assume that children don't think. No, that's an error. Children has a brain, they can think. And the sad part of it is the fact that their brain goes in spirals. So that means they think faster and goes into this imagination phase. So if you do not give them an information, they create information. So you don't tell them why you were not available, or maybe a child is trying to talk to you, your little 2-year-old or 3-year-old or 4-year-old, mommy, and you are busy, maybe on your phone or you are cooking, you don't even listen. Take a minute, pause, and tell the child, I will listen to you, but right now I'm doing something. That's why I'm not listening. So don't just assume that leave me, Gary, go and meet your daddy, or leave me, Gary, go and meet your mommy. Those are little ways that begins to show. Another major one I would want to quickly also add is, we talked about attachment disorder earlier. Research has shown that when children are not given enough body warmth and body contact, that's hugging, majorly, embrace, hugging, between the ages of 0 and 5, they experience this sense of abandonment and neglect. So if you can, especially the male child, as Africans, we have been very poor at that. If two little baby walks into a room, 4-year-old girl, 4-year-old boy, the likelihood that everybody would pick up this baby girl, hug her, talk about how pretty your dress is fine, your hair is fine, it's higher than anybody picking up that boy, that 4-year-old boy. Rather, if this 4-year-old boy walks in, there are chances of saying, okay, give me thumbs up, high five, all those kind of things. No one is caring. No one is telling the boy, you look handsome, you have a nice haircut. Let's begin to do all of this. It will really impact. Tell your children you love them. Say it to them often. And when you hurt them for any reason, apologize. We've gone from the generation where parents do apologize. We're in a generation where you need to apologize. We're in a generation where you use the 5 magic words yourself, not just teach children to use it. You also learn to use it. Say please. Yes. Tell your son, get me that cup of water. Please get me that cup of water. So these are basic things. And above all, create a safe space for them. Lead them to that space where they know that come what may, you can build an emotionally stable child. Let them know God. Remember I said to us earlier, man is made up of body, spirit, and soul. You cannot groom an emotionally well-balanced child, a physically well-balanced child, without a spiritually well-balanced child. So give that. If there's any good thing you want to give, make sure that child has a connection with the being that is spirit. That would help even their self-esteem. That will help in so many ways, even as they grow. Those will be my suggestions.
So thank you so much for joining, for choosing to be one of our guests on DTS podcast, and a special appreciation. Thank you so much, Dr. Timi Oyebode. And this is where we drop the curtain, if I'm allowed to say that, for today's episode of TTS Pod, episode 10. And until we come next time with another guest, please stay calm, be good, and above all, try as much as possible to take a mental, emotional test. It's always very important. And just as advised by Dr. Timi Oyebode, taking an emotional test is always very important. How you're feeling, how you're faring, and stuff like that. So again, thank you very much for coming. Thank you. And bye for now. Bye.
Bye.